The boardroom doors slammed open at 11:47 p.m. Celeste Whitmore, the youngest billionaire CEO in Seattle, stood frozen as her entire executive team watched her sway on her feet, blood pressure crashing, vision blurring. The woman who'd just closed a $4.2 billion merger couldn't remember when she'd last eaten. Across the room, a quiet operations manager named Ethan Cole watched the most powerful person in the building nearly collapse and made a choice that would destroy every professional boundary between them. Because sometimes the loneliest people wear the most expensive clothes, and sometimes a single father with nothing to gain becomes the only person brave enough to catch someone falling apart. If you want to see how a struggling single dad changed a billionaire's entire world, stay until the end. And drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The champagne kept flowing long after Celeste stopped tasting it. She stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 43rd floor ballroom, glass in hand, watching Seattle's skyline blur into streaks of light and shadow. Below her, 300 employees celebrated the Whitmore Industries merger like it was New Year's Eve. Music pounded, voices roared. Somebody from accounting had climbed onto a table. Celeste smiled automatically, nodded when executives approached, accepted congratulations she'd heard 17 times already. Her head throbbed. Her feet screamed inside 4-inch heels. She couldn't remember if she'd eaten lunch or breakfast. The last solid memory she had was signing documents at 6 a.m. in her attorney's office, hands shaking from exhaustion and 3 espressos. Celeste, you're a goddamn legend. I see. Marcus Chen, her CFO, appeared beside her with a fresh champagne bottle. He was drunk. Everyone was drunk. Celeste had stopped drinking 2 hours ago because she didn't trust her body anymore. We pulled it off, Marcus continued, slinging an arm around her shoulder. $4.2 billion. The biggest merger this city's ever seen. You know what that makes you? Tired, Celeste muttered. Marcus laughed like she'd told a joke. Untouchable. That's what you are. 30 years old and untouchable. He wandered off toward a group of VPs near the bar. Celeste watched him go, then turned back to the window. Her reflection stared back. Designer dress, perfect hair, makeup that cost more than most people's car payments. She looked flawless. She felt like she was dying. The room tilted slightly. Celeste gripped the windowsill, steadying herself. Just exhaustion. She'd survived worse. Last quarter, she'd worked 90-hour weeks for 2 months straight. The quarter before that, she'd negotiated a hostile takeover while running on 4 hours of sleep total across 3 days. This was nothing. This was just... The floor shifted again. Harder this time. Celeste blinked. The skyline doubled, then merged back together. Her heartbeat sounded too loud in her ears, a drumbeat that didn't match the music. Ms. Whitmore? A hand touched her elbow, gentle, careful. Celeste turned and found herself looking at a man she'd seen around the office but never really noticed. Tall, maybe 6'1", dark hair slightly too long for corporate standards. Dressed in a simple button-down that had clearly been worn since morning. He had the kind of face that didn't demand attention. Steady eyes, a slight scar above his left eyebrow, the beginning of worry lines around his mouth. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. His name floated up from somewhere in her memory. Ethan. Ethan Cole. Operations department. Never caused problems. Never asked for promotions. Just showed up, did his work, went home. "I'm fine," Celeste said automatically. The lie tasted stale. "You don't look fine." His voice stayed low, meant only for her. "You look like you're about to pass out." I said I'm fine. But even as she said it, the room lurched again. Celeste's knees buckled. She didn't fall. Ethan caught her elbow, his other hand steadying her shoulder. Strong grip, not controlling, just present. "When's the last time you ate something?" he asked. Celeste tried to remember. Came up blank. "This morning. It's almost midnight. I've been busy." "You've been running yourself into the ground." He glanced around the ballroom. Nobody was paying attention. They were all too drunk, too caught up in their own celebrations. "Come on, let's get you out of here. I can't leave. I'm the CEO who's about to collapse in front of 300 employees?" Ethan's tone wasn't harsh, just matter of fact. "That'll be great for company morale, real inspiring." Celeste wanted to argue. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out except a shaky breath. "Please," Ethan said, "just let me help you get home." The word home hit something tender in Celeste's chest. Home meant her penthouse. 4,200 square feet of marble, glass, and silence. No family, no friends. Just expensive furniture and a view she was too exhausted to enjoy. But she nodded anyway. Ethan kept one hand on her elbow as they moved through the crowd. Nobody stopped them. A few people called out congratulations. Celeste waved weakly, let Ethan guide her toward the elevators. The doors closed. Silence rushed in, replacing the party noise with a ringing emptiness. "What floor?" Ethan asked. "Parking garage, level P1. He pressed the button. The elevator descended smoothly. Celeste leaned against the wall, eyes closed. She felt Ethan watching her but didn't have the energy to care about appearances anymore. "I have a daughter," he said suddenly. Celeste opened her eyes. "What?" "A daughter. Ava, she's 6. Ethan kept his gaze on the elevator doors. "I'm telling you because I need to text my babysitter. Let her know I'll be a little late. I don't want you thinking I'm texting people about you." Something about that explanation, the casual honesty of it, made Celeste's throat tighten. She watched him pull out his phone, type quickly, put it away. "You didn't have to help me," she said. "I know." "So why did you?" Ethan looked at her then, really looked at her. Not the way board members did, searching for weakness. Not the way investors did, calculating her value. Just looked at her like she was a person who needed help. "Because you looked like you needed it," he said simply. The elevator doors opened. Parking garage. Fluorescent lights and concrete and the smell of exhaust. Celeste's driver waited near her car, a black Tesla that cost more than Ethan probably made in 2 years. The driver, James, straightened when he saw them. His eyes flicked to Ethan's hand on Celeste's elbow, but he said nothing. "Miss Whitmore isn't feeling well," Ethan said. "I'm going to make sure she gets home safely." James hesitated, looked at Celeste. "It's fine," she managed. "He's an employee. Ethan Cole. Operations." That seemed to satisfy James. He opened the back door. Ethan helped Celeste inside, then walked around to the other side and slid in beside her. The car pulled out of the garage smoothly. Celeste closed her eyes again, let her head rest against the leather seat. She felt Ethan beside her, not touching, just present. It had been so long since anyone had been simply present with her. No agenda, no requests, no calculations. "Where do you live?" Ethan asked. "Harbor Steps, the Aurora building." She heard him exhale softly. The Aurora was the most expensive residential building in Seattle. Penthouses starting at $12 million. Celeste's had cost $18. They rode in silence. Celeste drifted in and out of awareness. At some point, she realized Ethan had texted his babysitter again, apologizing for being late, promising to pay extra, a single father. Celeste tried to picture it and couldn't. Her entire adult life had been consumed by work. The idea of raising a child while holding down a job seemed impossible. The idea of raising a child alone seemed like something from another universe. The car stopped. James opened the door. Ethan got out first, then helped Celeste to her feet. The lobby of the Aurora was all marble and gold fixtures, and a doorman who knew her by name. "Good evening, Ms. Whitmore," Richard said, then paused when he saw Ethan. "Will you be needing anything?" "We're fine," Celeste said. Her voice sounded distant. They rode the elevator to the 45th floor. Penthouse level. The doors opened directly into Celeste's apartment. Ethan went still. Celeste saw her home through his eyes. Massive windows overlooking Elliott Bay. White furniture that had never been sat on. A kitchen so pristine it looked like a showroom. Art that cost 6 figures. Silence so complete it felt like walking into a museum after hours. "Jesus," Ethan said quietly. Celeste walked inside, kicked off her heels, left them on the marble floor. Her feet screamed with relief. She made it to the white couch and collapsed. Ethan followed slowly, looking around. Not with envy, with something closer to sadness. "You live here alone?" he asked. "Yes. It's beautiful. It's empty." The words came out before Celeste could stop them. She pressed her hands to her face, suddenly mortified. She didn't talk like this. She didn't show weakness, especially not to employees. But Ethan didn't leave. He sat down on the couch, keeping a respectful distance. "When's the last time you had a real meal?" "I don't know. Yesterday, Maybe the day before? You want me to order something? Celeste shook her head. I'm not hungry. You need to eat. I need to sleep. You need to eat, then sleep. Ethan pulled out his phone. Thai food okay? Celeste didn't answer. Ethan took that as permission. She heard him ordering pad thai, spring rolls, mango sticky rice. Heard him giving her address, using his own credit card. After he hung up, he sat back, looked at her carefully. You want to talk about it? About what? Whatever's making the most successful woman in Seattle look like she wants to disappear. Celeste laughed. It came out bitter. You don't know me. I know you worked 16-hour days for 3 months to close that merger. I know you personally reviewed every contract, every clause, every risk assessment. I know you fired 2 executives who tried to cut corners. Ethan's voice stayed even. I know you're brilliant, and I know brilliance doesn't mean you're okay. Something cracked open in Celeste's chest. She looked at this stranger, this operations manager she'd barely noticed before tonight, and felt tears building behind her eyes. I don't know how to stop, she whispered. Stop what? Working, pushing, proving I deserve this. Her hands gestured vaguely at the penthouse, the view, the life she'd built. My father was a stockbroker, lost everything when I was 12. Heart attack at 47. My mother blamed him, blamed me, said I reminded her too much of his failures. Ethan said nothing, just listened. I built this company from nothing, took out loans, slept in my office, worked 90-hour weeks for 5 years straight. Celeste's voice cracked. And now I have everything I ever wanted, billions, power, respect. And I'm sitting here at 30 years old realizing I don't have a single person I can call at midnight just to talk to. You're calling me, Ethan said gently. You're an employee. Right now, I'm just someone sitting on your couch waiting for Thai food. Despite everything, Celeste smiled. Then the tears came. She cried quietly, shoulders shaking. Ethan didn't move closer, didn't try to fix it, just sat there, present until the food arrived. He got up to answer the door, came back with bags of takeout, set everything on the coffee table, a table that had never held anything except designer magazines Celeste never read. Eat, Ethan said. Celeste picked up the pad thai container. The smell hit her. Her stomach cramped with sudden hunger. She took a bite, then another. Then she was eating like she'd been starving, which she realized she had been. Ethan ate across from her, didn't comment, didn't judge. When they finished, he cleaned up, threw away containers, wiped down the table, moved through her kitchen like he belonged there. You should sleep, he said finally. Celeste nodded. She felt exhausted down to her bones, but also strangely lighter, like crying and eating had released some pressure she'd been carrying for years. Thank you, she said. For what? For not leaving. Ethan's expression softened. My daughter had a hard time adjusting after the divorce. Used to cry herself to sleep. Nothing I did seemed to help. He paused. Then one night I realized I was trying to fix it instead of just being there. So I stopped trying to fix it. Just sat with her. Let her cry. Let her talk when she wanted to talk. And that's what helped. You're a good father, Celeste said quietly. I'm a tired father who makes a lot of mistakes, but I try. He pulled out his phone. I need to get home. Ava's babysitter has school tomorrow. Celeste stood, walked him to the elevator. Before the doors closed, she caught his arm. Ethan? Yeah? Don't tell anyone about tonight, please. He looked at her for a long moment. There's nothing to tell. You worked too hard, got exhausted, went home. That's it. The elevator doors closed. Celeste stood alone in her empty penthouse, listening to the silence. For the first time in years, it didn't feel quite so suffocating. But the next morning, Celeste woke up at 5 a.m. out of habit. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, remembering everything from the night before. She'd cried in front of an employee, admitted weakness, shared personal history. Every instinct screamed that she'd made a terrible mistake. But when she checked her phone, there were no leaked stories, no office gossip, nothing. Just a text from an unknown number. Made sure you got home safe. Hope you got some sleep. Ethan. Celeste stared at the message. Then she saved the number. She spent the morning in emergency damage control mode, expecting fallout that never came. By noon, She started to believe Ethan had actually kept his word. That afternoon, she saw him in the hallway outside the operations department. He was talking to another employee, pointing at something on a tablet. When he saw her, he nodded politely. Nothing more. No knowing looks, no expectation, just a nod. Celeste nodded back and kept walking. But she couldn't stop thinking about him. 3 days passed before Celeste found an excuse to walk past the operations department again. Ethan was at his desk, reviewing spreadsheets. She watched him from the hallway. He had his sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, looked tired, but focused. Every few minutes he'd check his phone, probably texting his daughter or babysitter. Something about the ordinariness of it fascinated Celeste. She spent her days in high-stakes meetings and million-dollar decisions. Ethan spent his days making sure shipments arrived on time and inventory systems ran smoothly. Different worlds, different pressures. She wondered which one of them was happier. That night, alone in her penthouse, Celeste did something she hadn't done in years. She ordered takeout, the same Thai place. Sat on her couch eating pad Thai straight from the container. It tasted better than any 5-star meal she'd had in months. Igitik. The following Monday, Celeste called a department meeting, operations included. Ethan sat in the back row. She could feel his presence without looking at him directly. When she announced new efficiency initiatives, she watched him take notes. Serious. Engaged. No hint of the man who'd sat on her couch and let her fall apart. After the meeting, employees filtered out. Ethan stayed behind, organizing his materials. "Mr. Cole," Celeste said. He looked up. "Miss Whitmore, a moment, please." Us. Everyone else had left. They were alone in the conference room. "I wanted to thank you again," Celeste said carefully, "for your help last week." "You already thanked me." "I know, but I also want you to know that if you ever need anything, a recommendation, a transfer, a promotion, you can ask." Ethan's expression didn't change. "I don't want anything." Ethan's expression didn't. "Everyone wants something. Not from you." He said it gently, but firmly. "I helped because you needed help. That's it." Celeste felt something shift in her chest. She'd spent years surrounded by people who wanted something. Money, access, status. The idea that someone would help her without expecting anything in return felt almost alien. "Well," she said, "the offer stands." Ethan nodded, started to leave, then turned back. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes, That night, you said you don't know how to stop. Stop working. Stop pushing." His eyes were kind but direct. "Did you mean it? Or were you just exhausted?" Celeste considered lying, then decided against it. "I meant it." "Then maybe you should try." "Try what?" "Stopping, just for one day, see what happens. I run a $4 billion company. I can't just, everyone can stop for one day." Ethan's voice was patient. "Even you." He left before she could respond. Celeste stood alone in the conference room, his words echoing. "Everyone can stop for one day. Even you." She tried it the following Sunday. Turned off her phone at 8 a.m. Left it in a drawer. Spent the morning walking through Pike Place Market like a tourist. Bought flowers from a vendor who had no idea who she was. Ate lunch at a small cafe. Read a book she'd bought 2 years ago but never opened. By 2 p.m., her hands were shaking from withdrawal. She retrieved her phone, 417 emails, 63 missed calls. Her assistant had sent 9 increasingly frantic texts, but nothing had exploded. The company still functioned. The world kept spinning. Celeste sat on her couch, flowers in a vase on the coffee table, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. It lasted exactly 12 minutes before her phone rang. "Board member, crisis in Singapore." She took the call. But for those 12 minutes, she'd felt it, remembered what it was like to exist without pressure. She wanted more of it. But 2 weeks later, Celeste did something unprecedented. She left work at 5 p.m. Her assistant nearly fainted. "Ms. Whitmore, you have the quarterly review at 6. Reschedule it." "But the board will survive one rescheduled meeting." She walked out before anyone could argue, took the elevator down, stood in the lobby, suddenly uncertain. It was 5:03 p.m. on a Thursday. She had nowhere to be. The feeling was terrifying and exhilarating. Celeste walked. No destination. just walked through Seattle's streets as rush hour swirled around her. She passed coffee shops and bookstores and restaurants, watched people living normal lives, couples holding hands, parents with strollers, friends laughing. She ended up at a park overlooking the water, sat on a bench, watched the sunset. "Miss Whitmore?" She turned. Ethan stood a few feet away, wearing jeans and a jacket, holding the hand of a small girl with dark curls and enormous brown eyes. "Ava." "Hi," Celeste said, suddenly self-conscious. We come here after school sometimes," Ethan said. "It's Ava's favorite spot." The little girl stared at Celeste with open curiosity. "Are you Daddy's boss?" "Sort of," Celeste said. "Daddy says you're really smart." Celeste blinked, looked at Ethan. He shrugged, slightly embarrassed. "You might have come up in conversation," he admitted. "What else did Daddy say?" Ava asked, tugging Ethan's hand. "That's enough, Bug." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "We should let Ms. Whitmore enjoy the park." "She can enjoy it with us," Ava declared. Then, to Celeste, "Do you want to feed the ducks?" "I don't have any." Ava produced a bag of crackers from her jacket pocket. "We brought extra." Celeste looked at Ethan. He gave her a small smile. "Your choice," his expression said. She stood. "I'd love to feed the ducks." Ava's face lit up. She grabbed Celeste's hand, small fingers wrapping around Celeste's with complete trust, and pulled her toward the water. For the next 30 minutes, Celeste Whitmore, billionaire CEO, stood at a pond throwing crackers to ducks, while a 6-year-old narrated each duck's personality and backstory. "That one's Gerald. He's grumpy. And that one's Patricia. She's bossy. And that little one is Kevin. Kevin's my favorite because he tries really hard." Ethan stood nearby, watching, not interfering, just present. When the crackers ran out, Ava slipped her hand back into Celeste's. "You're nice," she announced. "Can you come to dinner?" "Ava," Ethan said gently. "What? She's nice. And you said we should make new friends." She? Well, guys. Celeste looked at Ethan. He looked mortified and amused in equal measure. "You don't have to," he started. "I'd like to," Celeste said. The words surprised her, but they were true. Ethan studied her face. "You sure?" "I'm sure." "It's just pizza, nothing fancy." "Pizza sounds perfect. Gee." They walked to Ethan's apartment building, a modest 3-story structure 12 blocks from the park. His apartment was on the 2nd floor, small, maybe 800 square feet, living room and kitchen combined, 2 bedrooms, furniture that had seen better days, but it was warm. Lived in. The walls were covered with Ava's drawings, photographs, a small bookshelf overflowing, toys in a basket, a blanket draped over the couch. It looked like a home. Ethan ordered pizza while Ava showed Celeste every drawing on the walls, explaining each one in exhaustive detail. Celeste found herself genuinely listening, genuinely interested. They ate at a small kitchen table. Ava chattered nonstop. Ethan occasionally interjected with gentle corrections or questions. Celeste sat between them, eating cheap pizza, and felt more relaxed than she had in years. After dinner, Ava insisted on showing Celeste her room, more drawings, a collection of stuffed animals, a bookshelf organized by color. "Daddy reads to me every night," Ava said proudly. "Even when he's tired." "Every night?" Celeste asked. "Every night," Ethan confirmed from the doorway. "It's our thing," Ava yawned. Ethan scooped her up. "Bedtime, Bug." "But I want to show Celeste my rock collection. Tomorrow, maybe." "Say good night." "Good night, Celeste." Ava wrapped her small arms around Celeste's neck, hugged her, then whispered, "I'm glad you came." Celeste's throat tightened. "Me too." Ethan carried Ava to her room. Celeste waited in the living room, surrounded by the evidence of their life together. Photos of Ava at different ages, a Father's Day card made from construction paper, a calendar on the fridge marked with school events and doctor's appointments. This was what Ethan had built after his divorce. Not billions, not power. Just this. Just love and routine and presence. Celeste found herself envious. Ethan returned 15 minutes later. "She's out. That kid falls asleep the second her head hits the pillow." "She's wonderful," Celeste said. "She's a handful." But Ethan smiled when he said it. You want coffee? I've got decaf. Sure. They sat on the couch, drank bad coffee, talked quietly. Can I ask you something personal? Celeste said. Depends on the question. Your ex-wife, what happened? Ethan was quiet for a moment. We got married young, 23. Thought we knew what we wanted. Then Ava came along and everything changed. I adapted. She didn't. She wanted freedom, travel, her career. I wanted to be a dad. E.T. He paused. She left when Ava was 2. Visits twice a year if we're lucky. I'm sorry, don't be. We're better off. Ava deserves a parent who wants to be present, not someone who feels trapped. Still, raising a child alone can't be easy. It's not, but it's worth it. Ethan looked at her. What about you? Ever think about having kids? Celeste laughed bitterly. When? Between quarterly earnings calls and board meetings? That's not an answer. She was quiet. Then, I think about it sometimes, but I don't know how to be a mother. My own mother barely tolerated me. I spent my childhood being told I was too loud, too ambitious, too much like my father. You know what I think? Ethan said gently. What? I think you'd be a great mother, because you'd try. You'd care. That's 90% of it right there. Celeste felt tears building again. She blinked them back. I should go, it's late. I'll call you a car. I can walk. Not from this neighborhood at 9 p.m. You can't. He called her a car, walked her downstairs, waited with her until it arrived. Before she got in, Celeste turned to him. Thank you for dinner, for letting me meet Ava, for... Celeste. Yeah? Stop thanking me. She smiled. Okay. The car pulled away. Celeste looked back once. Ethan stood on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching her go. When she got home, her penthouse felt even emptier than usual, but this time she knew what she was missing. The next morning, Celeste sat in her office staring at spreadsheets she couldn't focus on. Her mind kept circling back to the previous night. Ava's laughter, Ethan's quiet patience, the feeling of sitting at that small kitchen table eating pizza like it was the most natural thing in the world. She'd built an empire, commanded billions, made decisions that affected thousands of lives, but she couldn't remember the last time she'd felt as content as she had in that cramped apartment. Her assistant knocked. Ms. Whitmore, the marketing team is ready for you. Celeste glanced at her calendar. 10 a.m. meeting. She'd completely forgotten. Give me 5 minutes. Of course. The door closed. Celeste stood, smoothed her suit, checked her reflection in the window. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect armor. She walked into the conference room and became the billionaire CEO again. But something had shifted. During presentations, she found herself distracted, wondering what Ava was doing at school, whether Ethan had managed to get her there on time, whether he'd remembered to pack her lunch, or if he'd had to throw something together at the last minute like he'd mentioned doing sometimes. Ms. Whitmore? She blinked. The marketing director was staring at her. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Concern flickered across his face. Celeste Whitmore didn't ask people to repeat themselves. She absorbed information the first time, always. The Q4 campaign budget, he said carefully. We're proposing an increase of 15%. Approved. Next item. The meeting continued. Celeste forced herself to focus. But the moment it ended, her mind drifted back. She pulled out her phone, stared at Ethan's contact. Her thumb hovered over the message icon. What would she even say? Thanks again for pizza? Your daughter is delightful. I can't stop thinking about how empty my life is compared to yours. She put the phone away. 3 hours later, it buzzed. Text from Ethan. Ava wanted me to tell you that Kevin the Duck said hello. Celeste smiled before she could stop herself. Typed back, tell Kevin I said hello too. She also wants to know if you like mac and cheese. I do. Good. Because she's planning our next dinner menu and apparently you're invited. Celeste's heart did something complicated. She doesn't have to do that. Try telling her that. I've already lost the argument twice. When? Friday? 6 p.m.? Only if you're free. No pressure. Celeste checked her calendar. Fundraising gala. 200 attendees, speeches, networking. the kind of event she normally thrived at. She typed, "I'm free." Then she called her assistant and canceled the gala. The assistant sputtered, "But, Ms. Whitmore, you're the keynote. Tell them I'm sick, food poisoning, whatever. Just handle it." She hung up before the protest could continue. For the rest of the week, Celeste caught herself smiling at random moments. During budget reviews, in the elevator, while signing contracts. Her CFO noticed. "You seem different," Marcus said during their Thursday lunch meeting. "Different how?" "I don't know, less." He searched for the word. "Severe, she." "I'm not severe." "Celeste, you once fired a guy for being 3 minutes late to a meeting. He was habitually late. It showed disrespect for everyone else's time. You made him cry." "He was a VP making $400,000 a year. He could handle criticism." Marcus laughed. "There she is. I was worried you'd been replaced by a clone." He leaned back. "Seriously, though, something's different. Good different." Celeste considered telling him, decided against it. "I'm just trying to maintain better work-life balance." "You? Work-life balance?" Marcus pretended to check his phone. "No apocalypse warnings. Weird. People can change. Not people like us." But he said it gently. "We're built different, Celeste. We don't know how to turn it off." "Maybe we should learn." Marcus studied her. "This is about the merger, isn't it? You burned yourself out." "Maybe. Take a vacation. Go somewhere tropical. Drink Mai Tais. Come back refreshed." "I don't want to go somewhere tropical." "Then what do you want?" The question hung between them. Celeste thought about Ethan's apartment, Ava's laughter, mac and cheese on Friday night. "I don't know yet," she said. But that was a lie. She knew exactly what she wanted. She just didn't know if she was allowed to want it. Friday arrived. Celeste left work at 5 p.m. again. This time, fewer people stared. Maybe they were getting used to it. Or maybe they'd decided she was having some kind of breakdown and were too polite to comment. She went home, changed out of her suit into jeans and a sweater, stared at herself in the mirror. She looked younger without the armor. Almost normal. Almost. She arrived at Ethan's apartment at 5:58 p.m., knocked, heard Ava shriek with excitement inside. The door flew open. Ava stood there in a princess dress and rain boots. "You came!" "I said I would. Daddy said maybe you'd be too busy." Celeste looked past Ava. Ethan stood in the kitchen, wooden spoon in hand, looking mildly embarrassed. "I said you might have work stuff come up. That's different." "No work stuff," Celeste said. "Just mac and cheese." Ava grabbed her hand and pulled her inside. The apartment smelled like butter and cheese and something baking. The table was set, mismatched plates and cups, a folded paper towel as a napkin. "I helped make dinner," Ava announced. "I stirred the cheese, and I set the table, and I made you a name card." She pointed proudly at a folded piece of construction paper with Celeste written in purple crayon. The E was backward. "It's beautiful," Celeste said. "I know," Ava beamed. "Sit down. Daddy says dinner's almost ready." Celeste sat, watched Ethan move around the small kitchen with practiced efficiency. He'd changed too, jeans and a faded Seahawks t-shirt. His hair was slightly messy. He looked tired, but happy. "Long week, what?" she asked. "Every week's long, but yeah." He glanced at her. "You?" "Same. Did you really cancel a gala to eat mac and cheese with us?" Celeste froze. "How did you—" "Your assistant called my department looking for you, said it was urgent, something about a keynote speech." Ethan's expression was unreadable. "My supervisor told her you'd already left for the day." She seemed confused. "It wasn't important. It was a gala. I've been to 100 galas. They're all the same." Ethan turned off the stove, brought a steaming pot to the table. "You didn't have to do that. I wanted to." "Why?" Ava was in the other room, distracted by her toys. Celeste lowered her voice. "Because I'm tired of doing things I don't want to do, and I wanted to be here." Something shifted in Ethan's expression. Not quite a smile, something deeper. "Okay?" "Okay?" "Yeah, okay." He scooped mac and cheese onto 3 plates, called Ava. "Dinner, bug, is." They ate. Ava narrated her entire week. school drama, playground politics, a spelling test she'd aced. Ethan listened attentively, asking questions, praising her victories, sympathizing with her struggles. Celeste watched the two of them together, the easy rhythm, the obvious love. Something ached in her chest. Celeste? Ava was looking at her expectantly. Sorry, what? I asked if you have a daddy. Ethan closed his eyes. Ava, we talked about personal questions. It's okay, Celeste said. I did have a daddy. He died when I was 12. That's sad. Ava's face crumpled with sympathy. Do you miss him? Sometimes. I miss my mommy sometimes, even though she doesn't visit much. Ava said it matter-of-factly, the way children do when something painful has become normal. But Daddy says it's okay to miss people even if they weren't very nice to us. Celeste's throat tightened. She looked at Ethan. He was focused on his plate, jaw tight. Your daddy's right, Celeste managed. After dinner, Ava insisted on showing Celeste how to play her favorite game. Some complicated thing involving stuffed animals and an imaginary kingdom. Celeste found herself sitting on the floor, holding a stuffed elephant, following rules that changed every 3 minutes. Ethan watched from the couch, coffee in hand, smiling. You're good at this, he said. At what? Being present. A lot of adults can't do it. They sit with kids, but they're not really there. You are. Celeste looked down at the stuffed elephant. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody does. That's the secret of parenting. We're all just making it up. You seem to have it figured out. I burn dinner twice a week. Ava wore mismatched shoes to school yesterday because I didn't notice until we got there. Last month I forgot about her school play and showed up halfway through. Ethan's voice was wry. Trust me, I don't have anything figured out. But you keep trying. That's all any of us can do. At 8 p.m., Ava started yawning. Ethan scooped her up. Bedtime. But Celeste just got here. Celeste will still be here after you brush your teeth. Promise? Ava looked at Celeste. Promise, Celeste said. Ethan carried Ava to the bathroom. Celeste heard water running, giggling, Ethan's patient voice reminding Ava to brush the back teeth, too. She stood and walked to the window, looked out at the neighborhood. Modest buildings, streetlights, a couple walking a dog. Normal life happening all around her. When had she last felt normal? She wants you to say goodnight. Celeste turned. Ethan stood in the hallway, looking uncertain. You don't have to. I want to. Ava's room was small but cozy. Nightlight in the corner, books stacked beside the bed. The little girl was tucked under blankets covered in stars. Will you come back? Ava asked. If your dad says it's okay. It's okay, Ava looked at Ethan. Right, Daddy? Right, Ethan said softly. Then I'll come back, Celeste promised. Good, Ava yawned. I like you. You're not like Daddy's other friends. What other friends? The ladies from his work who bring us cookies and smile too much. Ava wrinkled her nose. They're nice, but they're fake nice. You're real nice. Celeste glanced at Ethan. He looked mortified. We should let you sleep, he said quickly, kissing Ava's forehead. Love you, Bug. Love you, Daddy. They left the room. Ethan closed the door gently. Ladies who bring cookies? Celeste asked. It's not. He ran a hand through his hair. Okay. A few women from the office have tried to set me up. I'm not interested, but they keep trying. Why aren't you interested? Because they're not interested in me. They're interested in the idea of me. Single dad, tragic backstory, needs saving. His voice was bitter. I don't need saving. I need someone who sees me as a person, not a project. They stood in the hallway, close, but not touching. What about you? Ethan asked. I'm sure you have men lining up. Celeste laughed. Men are terrified of me, or they want access to my money, or both. That must be lonely. It is. She met his eyes. Until recently. The air between them shifted, charged. Ethan stepped back. You want more coffee? Sure. They sat on the couch, talked, really talked. Ethan told her about his marriage, the slow dissolution, the arguments. The moment he realized his ex-wife had already left emotionally, long before she left physically. Celeste told him about building her company, The loans, the fear, the night she slept in her office because she couldn't afford both rent and payroll. Do you regret it? Ethan asked. Sacrificing everything for the company? I don't know. I used to think it was worth it. Now I'm not sure. Celeste stared into her coffee. I have everything I thought I wanted, but I'm alone, and I don't know if I can fix that. I don't know if I know how to be close to people anymore. You're close to me. Am I? You're here, you're talking, you're letting me see you without the armor. Ethan's voice was gentle. That's pretty close. Scares me. Good. Means it matters. Celeste looked at him. At this man who worked in operations, raised his daughter alone, lived in an apartment that cost less than her monthly car payment. A man who had every reason to resent her wealth and power, but instead treated her like a human being. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. Why aren't you intimidated by me? Ethan considered the question. Honestly, because I've changed diapers at 3 a.m. while running on no sleep and a stomach virus. I've negotiated with a 3-year-old who refused to wear anything but a tutu for 2 weeks straight. I've survived my daughter's kindergarten talent show. He smiled. After that, a billionaire CEO doesn't seem that scary. Celeste laughed, really laughed. I can't decide if that's insulting or refreshing. Probably both. Definitely both. They talked until after 11 p.m. Finally, Celeste checked her phone and swore softly. I should go. You have to work tomorrow. So do you. I'm the CEO. I can be late. Must be nice. She stood. Ethan walked her to the door. Thank you, Celeste said. For tonight. For letting me be part of this. You're not part of it. You're welcome in it. There's a difference. What's the difference? Being part of something means you're watching. Being welcome means you belong. Sit. Celeste's eyes stung. She blinked quickly. I haven't belonged anywhere in a long time. You belong here, Ethan said simply. The words settled into her chest, warm and dangerous and terrifying. She left before she could do something stupid like cry or kiss him or both. The following week, Celeste found herself rearranging her schedule, leaving work earlier, declining evening events, making space in her carefully controlled life for something messy and undefined. She started texting Ethan during the day. Nothing important, just small things. A funny billboard she'd seen. A question about what Ava might like for her birthday next month. Updates on office drama he'd find amusing. He texted back. Never immediately. He was working, raising a child, managing his own life. But he always responded eventually, and his responses made her smile. Marcus noticed. You're on your phone a lot lately, he commented during a board meeting. I'm always on my phone. Not like this. You're smiling at it. Celeste put the phone away. Don't you have quarterly reports to review? Already done. Now I'm reviewing the mystery of Celeste Whitmore's sudden personality transplant. There's no mystery. You left work at 5 p.m. 3 times last week. You're smiling at your phone. You turned down the Forbes interview. Marcus leaned forward. Who is he? There's no he. Celeste. Marcus. He laughed. Fine. Keep your secrets. But whoever he is, he's good for you. You seem happier. I'm not happy. I'm just less miserable. For you, that's basically euphoria. Celeste threw a pen at him. He dodged, still laughing. But he was right. She did feel different. Lighter. Like some weight she'd been carrying for years had finally started to lift. That weekend, she showed up at Ethan's apartment with groceries. He opened the door, confused. What's this? I'm cooking dinner. You cook? I'm learning. She pushed past him into the kitchen. Ava mentioned she likes spaghetti. I found a recipe. You didn't have to. I know. I wanted to. Ethan watched her unpack ingredients. Expensive pasta, fresh tomatoes, real Parmesan. Celeste, this is too much. It's groceries. This is $100 worth of groceries. So, I can't. He stopped. Started again. I appreciate it, but I can't let you buy things for us. Why not? Because it feels like charity. Celeste set down the tomatoes, looked at him directly. Is that what you think this is? I don't know what this is. Well, it's me wanting to make dinner for people I care about. That's it. Nothing complicated. Everything about this is complicated, Ethan said quietly. You're my boss. You're a billionaire. I'm an operations manager with a kid in a studio apartment. We live in different worlds. I don't want to live in my world anymore. It's cold and empty, and I hate it. So you're visiting mine? What happens when you get bored? When the novelty wears off? His words stung. Celeste felt anger flash through her. You think I'm slumming it? Playing pretend in your life because I'm bored? I think you're lonely, and lonely people make impulsive decisions. This isn't impulsive. I've thought about this constantly for weeks. Thought about what exactly? Ethan's voice rose slightly. Celeste, what are we doing here? I don't know. Her own voice rose to match. I don't know what this is. I just know that when I'm here, I feel like myself for the first time in years. And when I'm in my office, in my penthouse, in my perfect billionaire life, I feel like I'm suffocating. They stared at each other. Ava's voice drifted from her room, singing something off-key. Ethan's shoulders sagged. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. No, you're right to question it. This is insane. We barely know each other. You work for me. I'm probably breaking 17 HR policies just by being here. Celeste laughed bitterly. I should go. Don't. Why not? Because I don't want you to. Ethan stepped closer. Look, I'm scared too. Terrified, actually. You're Celeste Whitmore. You're brilliant and powerful and completely out of my league. But when you're here, you're just you. And I like you, the real you, not the CEO version. What if the real me is broken? Then you're in good company. I'm divorced, constantly exhausted, and my biggest achievement this week was getting Ava to eat a vegetable. He smiled. We're all broken. Question is whether we're broken together or broken apart. Celeste felt something crack open in her chest. Together sounds better. Yeah? Yeah. The tension broke. Ethan smiled. Okay then, let's make spaghetti. They cooked together. It was a disaster. Celeste burned the garlic, the pasta was overdone, the sauce was too watery. But when Ava came running in, she didn't care about any of that. You're cooking together, like a team. She clapped her hands. Daddy, can Celeste stay forever? Ava, what? She's nice. She makes you smile. And she's really bad at cooking, so she needs practice. Celeste laughed. You're right. I do need practice. Then you should stay, Ava decided. Forever. No. Ethan met Celeste's eyes over his daughter's head. Forever hung in the air between them, impossible and tempting. They ate the terrible spaghetti. Ava declared it was the best dinner ever. Celeste suspected she was being kind, but appreciated it anyway. After dinner, while Ethan did dishes, Ava curled up next to Celeste on the couch. Can I ask you something? The little girl said. Of course. Are you Daddy's girlfriend? Celeste froze. We're friends. But do you want to be his girlfriend? Ava, that's not because I think you should be. You make him happy. He's been sad for a long time, since Mommy left. But now he smiles more. Celeste's throat tightened. Your daddy's a good man. I know. That's why he deserves someone nice. Ava looked up at her with those enormous brown eyes. You're nice, even if you can't cook. Ava, bedtime, Ethan called from the kitchen. But now, Bug. Ava sighed dramatically, hugged Celeste, whispered, think about it, okay? Then she bounced off to her room. Ethan emerged from the kitchen, drying his hands. I'm sorry, she has no filter. It's okay. It's not. She shouldn't put you on the spot like that. Ethan. Celeste stood. Can I be honest? Always. I haven't stopped thinking about this. About you. About what we're doing. She took a breath. I know it's complicated. I know there are 1,000 reasons this is a terrible idea. But I don't care anymore. I'm tired of doing the smart thing. The safe thing. The thing that makes sense on paper. What do you want to do instead? Something terrifying. Like what? Celeste stepped closer. Like this. She kissed him. For a moment, Ethan didn't move. Then his hands came up to her face, gentle and sure, and he kissed her back. It wasn't perfect. Their noses bumped. Celeste forgot how to breathe. but it was real, raw, honest. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. That was, Ethan started. A mistake? I was going to say overdue. Celeste laughed, almost cried. I haven't kissed anyone in 3 years. I haven't kissed anyone since my divorce. We're pathetic. Completely. Ethan smiled, tucked her hair behind her ear. Want to be pathetic together? More than anything. They stood there, foreheads touching, breathing the same air. In the background, Ava sang herself to sleep. This is going to be complicated, Ethan said. I know. People are going to talk. At work. In the media. Let them. I can't give you what you're used to. Fancy dinners. Expensive gifts. Luxury. I don't want that. I want this. You, Ava. Terrible spaghetti and mismatched dishes and feeling like I belong somewhere. Ethan kissed her again, softer this time. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's do this terrifying thing together. Celeste smiled against his mouth. Okay. She stayed until late. They talked about logistics, complications, how to handle things at work. Eventually, reality intruded. Celeste had an early meeting. Ethan had to get Ava to school. I'll see you Monday, Ethan said at the door. Actually, I was thinking Sunday, if you're free. What did you have in mind? Park, ducks? Maybe we introduce Kevin to Gerald properly. Ethan laughed. Ava will love that. Good. Celeste kissed him once more. Quick, sweet. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Celeste. She left floating, drove home in a daze. Her penthouse was still empty, still cold. But now she had somewhere else to be, someone waiting for her. Something real. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Ava wants to know if you're officially Daddy's girlfriend now. Celeste smiled, typed, Tell her yes. She's screaming with joy. You've made her night. What about you? There was a pause, then, You've made my year. Celeste curled up on her couch, phone in hand, grinning like an idiot. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt happy and terrified and completely wonderfully alive. Monday morning hit Celeste differently. She woke up at 5 like always, but instead of dreading the day ahead, she found herself thinking about Ethan, about the way he'd kissed her, about Ava's delighted scream when he'd told her they were together. She got ready for work with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Even her reflection looked different. Same expensive suit, same perfect hair, but something in her eyes had changed. She looked less like a machine and more like a person. The office was already buzzing when she arrived at 7. Her assistant handed her coffee and a stack of messages. 3 fires to put out before noon, a supplier issue in Taiwan, legal documents that needed review, the usual chaos. Celeste handled it all efficiently, but her mind kept wandering. Around 10 a.m., she passed the operations department, slowed her pace, caught a glimpse of Ethan at his desk, focused on his computer screen. He looked up. Their eyes met. He gave her the smallest smile. Nothing obvious, nothing anyone else would notice. But Celeste felt it like electricity. She kept walking, forced herself not to look back. At lunch, her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. This is harder than I thought. What is? Seeing you in the hallway and not being able to kiss you. Celeste smiled at her phone, typed, We're at work. Professional boundaries. I know, doesn't make it easier. Tonight? Can't. Ava has soccer practice and I promised I'd stay. Tomorrow? Tomorrow. She put her phone away, tried to focus on work, failed miserably. Marcus cornered her after a budget meeting. Okay, seriously. What's going on with you? Nothing. You smiled during a presentation about projected losses. That's not nothing. I'm trying to maintain a positive attitude. You've never maintained a positive attitude in your life. You maintain control, vigilance, borderline paranoia. Marcus studied her. You're seeing someone. I'm not. Don't lie to me. I've known you for 8 years. You have that look. What look? The look people get when they're falling for someone. Distracted, happy, slightly terrified. He grinned. So who is he? Wait, let me guess. Tech entrepreneur? Venture capitalist? Someone equally rich and ambitious? You're way off. Politician? Marcus, stop. Artist? No, you'd never date an artist. Too unpredictable. His eyes widened. Oh no, Please tell me it's not that hedge fund guy who keeps emailing you, the one with the yacht fetish. Despite herself, Celeste laughed. It's definitely not him. Then who? Sis? She hesitated. Part of her wanted to keep Ethan secret, private, protected from office gossip and board scrutiny. But another part, the part that had kissed him in his apartment, the part that was tired of hiding, wanted to be honest. Someone from operation? She said carefully. Marcus blinked. Operations? Like our operations department? Yes. Here? In this building? Yes. Celeste. Marcus lowered his voice. That's a terrible idea. I know. The board will lose their minds. I know. HR will have a field day. You'll need to disclose the relationship. There'll be policies, paperwork, potential conflicts of interest. I know all of that. Celeste met his eyes. And I don't care. Marcus stared at her. Then he started laughing. You're serious. Completely. Celeste Whitmore, the woman who once told me personal relationships were distractions from success, is dating an employee. Yes. And you don't care about the complications. Oh, I care. I'm just choosing him anyway. Marcus shook his head, still smiling. Whoever this guy is, he must be something special. He is? Does he know what he's getting into? Dating you isn't exactly easy. We're figuring it out. Well, Marcus stood. For what it's worth, I'm happy for you. You deserve to be happy, even if it's messy. It's definitely going to be messy. The best things usually are. Yeah. After he left, Celeste sat alone in her office, stared at the city below. Marcus was right. This was messy, complicated, potentially disastrous for both her and Ethan. But when she thought about walking away, about going back to her empty penthouse and her carefully controlled life, her chest ached. She'd rather have messy and real than perfect and alone. That evening, Celeste went home and did something she'd never done before. She called her mother. They hadn't spoken in 6 months. Their relationship had been strained since Celeste's father died. Fractured by grief and blame and years of unspoken resentment, her mother answered on the 4th ring. Celeste, this is unexpected. Hi, Mom. Is something wrong? Did something happen with the company? Loss? Always the company. Never just concern for her daughter. No, the company's fine. Celeste paused. I wanted to talk. About what? I'm seeing someone. Silence. Then, who? His name is Ethan. He works for me. He has a daughter. More silence. Celeste could picture her mother's face. The disapproval. The judgment. Celeste, you can't be serious. I am. Dating an employee is completely inappropriate. And a single father? Do you have any idea how that will look? I don't care how it looks. Well, you should. You're a public figure, a CEO. Your personal life reflects on the company. My personal life is my business. Not when you're worth $4 billion. It's not. Her mother's voice turned sharp. Is this some kind of rebellion? Are you trying to prove something? I'm trying to be happy. Happy. Her mother said it like a foreign word. Celeste, happiness is a luxury. Success is what matters. Your father understood that. He sacrificed everything for his career. And it killed him. Don't you dare! He died at 47 from stress and overwork. He had no friends, no life outside the office. He was miserable, Mom, and I've spent the last 15 years becoming exactly like him. You're nothing like him. You succeeded where he failed. I'm lonely where he was lonely, exhausted where he was exhausted, isolated where he was isolated. Celeste's voice cracked. I don't want to die at 47 with nothing but money and regrets. So you're throwing away everything you built for some man you barely know? I'm not throwing away anything. I'm just making room for something else. Her mother exhaled sharply. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. Don't come crying to me when this falls apart. The line went dead. Celeste stared at her phone, waited for the hurt to hit. Instead, she felt oddly free. Her mother's approval had been a weight she'd carried for decades, trying to prove she was worthy, trying to make up for her father's failures, trying to be enough. She was done trying. The next evening, Celeste showed up at Ethan's apartment with Chinese takeout. He opened the door looking exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, hair disheveled. "Rough day?" she asked. "Ava's getting over a cold. She was up half the night coughing. I was up the other half worrying." He took the food. "You didn't have to bring dinner." "I wanted to." "You keep saying that." "Because it keeps being true." Ava appeared from her room, wrapped in a blanket. Her nose was red. She looked miserable but still managed to smile when she saw Celeste. "You came," she said, voice congested. "Of course I came." They ate on the couch, Ava curled up between them, picking at her food. Ethan kept checking her temperature, worried. "She'll be okay," Celeste said quietly. "I know, I just hate seeing her sick." "You're a good dad. I'm a paranoid dad. Same thing." After dinner, Ava fell asleep on the couch. Ethan carried her to bed, came back looking even more tired. "You should rest," Celeste said. "I'm fine." "Ethan, you look like you haven't slept in days." "I haven't, but that's parenthood." He sat beside her. "How was your day?" "I told my mother about us." "How did that go?" "About as well as expected. She thinks I'm making a huge mistake." "Maybe she's right." Celeste turned to him. "Do you think this is a mistake?" "Honestly, sometimes." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "You're brilliant, successful, beautiful. You could have anyone. And instead you're here in my cramped apartment eating Chinese food while my kid sleeps off a cold." "There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Now, but what about in 6 months, a year? When the novelty wears off and you remember you're a billionaire, dating a guy who shops at Target?" "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Assuming this is temporary. Assuming I'm going to wake up one day and realize I made a mistake." Celeste took his hand. "I know what I want. And it's this. You, Ava. All of it. Even the sick days and the exhaustion and the student loan debt I'm still paying off. And especially that. Because it's real. It's human. It's everything my life has been missing." Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Then he kissed her, slow and deep and full of everything he couldn't say. When they pulled apart, Celeste rested her forehead against his. "We're going to make this work. You sound pretty confident." "I closed a $4 billion merger. I think I can handle dating you." He laughed. "Dating me is going to be way more complicated than any merger." "Good. I like complicated." They stayed on the couch until late, talked quietly, made plans. Ethan fell asleep first, head on her shoulder. Celeste sat there listening to him breathe, feeling his weight against her. This was what happiness felt like. Not champagne and galas and applause. Just this. Just sitting on an old couch with someone she cared about, knowing she mattered to him. She stayed until almost midnight, then carefully extracted herself, left a note on the kitchen counter, and went home. Her penthouse felt different now, still empty, still cold, but temporary, like a hotel room instead of a prison. The following week, things got harder. Word started spreading at work. Nothing official, just whispers, speculation. Celeste Whitmore leaving early, being seen near operations, smiling more. Jennifer from HR cornered her in the elevator. "Ms. Whitmore, I need to discuss something sensitive." Celeste's stomach dropped. "What is it?" "There have been reports of a potential relationship between you and an employee. I need to ask directly. Is this true?" There was no point lying. Yes, there was no point. Jennifer's professional mask didn't slip. "Then we need to file the appropriate disclosure forms. There are policies in place for executive-employee relationships." "I'm aware." "There will also need to be a reassignment. The employee in question can't report to anyone in your direct chain of command. It creates a conflict of interest." "Ethan doesn't report to me. He's in operations. You're the CEO. Technically, everyone reports to you." Jennifer pulled out her tablet. "I'll need his name, position, and department. We'll handle the reassignment as discreetly as possible." Celeste hesitated. Once she gave Ethan's name, this became official, real, no going back. Ethan Cole, Operations Manager, Department 7B, Jennifer typed, didn't react. I'll process this today. You should expect some questions from the board. I'm prepared for that. Are you? Jennifer looked at her directly. Ms. Whitmore, I've worked here 5 years. I've never seen you involved with anyone. The board will have concerns about favoritism, about your judgment, about whether I can separate my personal life from my professional responsibilities. Celeste's voice hardened. I'm aware of their concerns, and I don't care. I've given this company 15 years, 90-hour weeks, my entire life. I'm allowed to have something for myself. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just preparing you for what's coming. Thank you. I appreciate the warning. The elevator doors opened. Jennifer stepped out, turned back. For what it's worth, I hope it works out. Everyone deserves to be happy. Even CEOs. The doors closed. Celeste leaned against the wall, took a shaky breath. This was really happening. No more secrets, no more hiding. She texted Ethan. HR knows. They're processing the disclosure. His response came quickly. Are you okay? Yes. Are you? Terrified. But okay. We're going to get through this. Together? Together. The board meeting happened 2 days later. Emergency session. Celeste sat at the head of the table, surrounded by investors and executives who'd helped build her empire. Now they looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Richard Morrison, lead investor, spoke first. Celeste, we need to discuss this relationship. There's nothing to discuss. I'm dating someone. It's been disclosed to HR. All policies are being followed. The optics are terrible. I don't care about optics. You should. You're the face of this company. What you do reflects on all of us. My personal life is my business, not when it affects shareholder value. Richard leaned forward. Dating an employee raises questions about your judgment, about potential favoritism, about whether you're still focused on running this company. But Mercedes, my performance speaks for itself. I closed the biggest merger in Seattle history 3 months ago. Revenue is up 18%. Stock prices are at an all-time high. My personal life has zero impact on my ability to lead. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Celeste's voice went cold, because it sounds like you're more concerned about appearances than actual performance. We're concerned about you, another board member, Susan Chen, said gently. This is out of character. You've always been so focused, so controlled. This seems impulsive. It's not impulsive. It's intentional. You barely know this man. I know him well enough. He's an operations manager, Richard said. No offense, but he's not exactly in your league. Celeste stood, planted her hands on the table. Let me be very clear. Ethan Cole is a good man. He's a devoted father. He's intelligent, honest, and treats me like a human being instead of a business asset. He's worth more than any of you in this room. And if you think his job title determines his value, then you're exactly the kind of people I'm tired of surrounding myself with. Silence fell. This meeting is over, Celeste said. Unless someone has actual business to discuss, I'm leaving. Nobody spoke. Celeste grabbed her laptop, walked out, hands shaking with adrenaline and anger. She made it to her office before her phone rang. Marcus. That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or career suicide, he said. I can't decide which. Probably both. They're talking about calling a vote, testing your support. Let them. Celeste, they could remove you as CEO. They won't. I own 38% of the company. They'd need a supermajority. They don't have the votes. They might convince other shareholders. Then I'll convince them back. She paused. Marcus, I'm tired of living my life according to what the board thinks is appropriate. I'm tired of being perfect. I'm tired of sacrificing everything for people who see me as a profit margin instead of a person. I get it. I do. But you need to be smart about this. I am being smart. For the first time in years, I'm choosing something for myself. That's the smartest decision I've ever made. Marcus was quiet. Then, he must be really special. He is. Then fight for him, but fight smart. After they hung up, Celeste sat at her desk, looked out at the city. She'd built her empire from nothing, fought for every inch, sacrificed everything. She wasn't about to sacrifice Ethan too. That evening, she met him at a coffee shop near his apartment. Neutral territory, away from the office and the whispers. He was already there when she arrived, looking worried. Are you okay? He asked immediately. I'm fine. The board's unhappy, but they'll get over it. Celeste, maybe we should... If you say we should break up, I'm leaving. Ethan blinked. I was going to say maybe we should slow down. Give people time to adjust. I don't want to slow down. The board called me in today. HR. They asked questions. A lot of questions. He looked exhausted. They wanted to know if I'm using you for career advancement, if I'm after your money, if I coerced you in any way. Celeste's anger flared. What did you tell them? The truth. That I care about you, that this is real, that I didn't ask for any of this, but I'm not walking away from it either. He paused. But Celeste, I need you to understand something. I can't be the reason you lose everything you've built. I won't let you sacrifice your company for me. That's not your choice. It's not yours either. Not entirely. You have employees, shareholders, responsibilities. And what about my responsibility to myself? To my own happiness? I don't know. Ethan reached across the table, took her hand. I just know that I'm scared. Scared of ruining your life. Scared of not being enough. Scared that one day you'll wake up and realize you gave up too much for too little. You're not too little. You're everything. I'm a guy with a kid and student loans. You're the only person who's ever made me feel like I'm enough just as I am. Not Celeste Whitmore, billionaire CEO. Just Celeste. Her voice cracked. That's worth more than any company. Ethan squeezed her hand. We're really doing this? We're really doing this. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I know. People are going to say terrible things about both of us. Let them. I can't protect you from it. I don't need protection. I need you at... He stood, came around the table, kissed her right there in the coffee shop. Didn't care who saw. When they pulled apart, Celeste was crying. Happy tears, scared tears, relief tears, all mixed together. I love you, she said. The words just came out. No planning, no rehearsal, just truth. Ethan went still. What? I love you. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy, but it's true. He cupped her face, wiped her tears with his thumbs. I love you too. Have for weeks. Didn't know how to say it. They stood there holding each other while the world spun around them. Everything was about to get so much harder. The board, the media, the judgment, the scrutiny. But right then, in that coffee shop, none of it mattered. They had each other. And sometimes that was enough to face anything. The next morning, Celeste woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. She grabbed her phone, heart pounding, and scrolled through them. Most were from her assistant, 2 from Marcus, 1 from her attorney. The last one from Marcus simply said, check the news. She opened her browser. The headline hit her like a fist to the stomach. Billionaire CEO Celeste. Whitmore in relationship with company employee. Board questions judgment. Below it, a photo. Celeste and Ethan leaving the coffee shop together, his arm around her shoulders, her face turned up toward his. The kind of intimacy that couldn't be explained away as professional. Someone had been watching. Someone had been waiting. Celeste's hands shook as she read the article. It was brutal. Speculation about Ethan's motives. Questions about Celeste's fitness to lead. Quotes from unnamed board members expressing concern. Every line designed to make her look weak, impulsive, reckless. Her phone rang. Marcus. I'm guessing you saw it, he said. Who leaked this? Does it matter? It's out there now. The board's calling another emergency meeting. This afternoon. 3 o'clock. Let them. Celeste, this is serious. Richard Morrison's already talking to major shareholders, testing support. He wants you out. He doesn't have the votes. He might after this. You're not just dating an employee anymore. You're a headline, a liability. Stock prices dropped 2% in the first hour of trading. Celeste closed her eyes. 2% didn't sound like much, but on a $4 billion company, that was $80 million in value. Gone, because she'd fallen in love. What do you want me to do? She asked quietly. Fight, but carefully. Come to the meeting prepared. Show them you're still in control. I am in control. Then prove it. After he hung up, Celeste sat on her bed, stared at the article, read it again. Every word felt like a knife. Sources close to the company suggest Whitmore's judgment has been compromised. One executive, speaking on condition of anonymity, stated that the CEO has been distracted for weeks, leaving early, missing key meetings. The relationship with operations manager Ethan Cole raises serious questions about favoritism and corporate governance. None of it was entirely untrue. She had been leaving early. She had missed some evening events. But her performance hadn't suffered. The company was thriving. Except now it wasn't, because perception mattered more than reality. Her phone buzzed, text from Ethan. "I'm so sorry." She called him immediately. "You have nothing to be sorry for," she said. "Celeste, my face is in the news. Ava's going to see this. Her friend's parents are going to see this." His voice was strained. "Someone took a photo of us. They were following us." "I know." "This is insane. I'm nobody. I'm just a guy who works in operations. Why do they care?" "Because I'm dating you. Because it makes me look weak. Because the board wants an excuse to question my leadership and your convenient ammunition." Ethan was quiet. Then, "Maybe we should stop." "What?" "Not us. Not the relationship. But the public part. The visibility. Maybe we should keep this private until things calm down." "You mean hide?" "I mean protect ourselves. Protect Ava. She doesn't deserve to be dragged into this." Sam, he was right. Celeste knew he was right. But the thought of hiding, of pretending Ethan didn't matter, made her feel sick. "I have a board meeting this afternoon," she said. "Let me handle it. Then we'll figure out what comes next." "Okay." "Ethan?" "Yeah?" "I love you. That hasn't changed. I love you too. That's why this scares me so much." Celeste arrived at the office at noon. The stares started immediately, employees whispering, conversations stopping when she walked past. She kept her head high, face neutral, and went straight to her office. Her assistant, Rebecca, followed her in. "Ms. Whitmore, I've been fielding calls all morning. Media requests, shareholder concerns. 3 major investors want conference calls. Tell them I'm unavailable." "For how long?" "Until after the board meeting." Rebecca hesitated. "There's something else. Someone left this for you." She handed Celeste an envelope. No return address, just her name written in harsh block letters. Celeste opened it. Inside, a single printed page. Anonymous. "You're destroying everything your father built. He'd be ashamed. End this relationship or step down. You can't have both." Celeste crumpled the paper, threw it in the trash. "If anyone else delivers anonymous messages, throw them away. I don't have time for cowards." "Yes, ma'am." Rebecca left. Celeste sat at her desk, pulled up the company financials, reviewed every metric, every projection, every success from the past year. Built her case, reminded herself why she deserved to be here. At 2:45, she walked into the boardroom. Every seat was filled. Richard Morrison sat at the opposite end of the table. He looked pleased with himself. Celeste took her seat, didn't wait for him to start. "Let's skip the pleasantries," she said. "I know why we're here. You're concerned about my relationship. You think it makes me look weak. You're worried about the stock price. So let's address it directly." "Celeste," Richard began. "I'm not finished," her voice cut through the room. "In the past 18 months, I've increased revenue by 32%. I closed a $4.2 billion merger that everyone said was impossible. I've recruited top talent, streamlined operations, built this company into something that matters. My personal life has zero impact on those achievements." "The stock dropped 2% this morning," Richard countered. "Stock prices fluctuate. They'll recover. They always do. Not if shareholders lose confidence in your leadership." "Why would they lose confidence? Because I'm dating someone? Because I'm trying to have a life outside this office?" Celeste leaned forward. "Or is it because you've been looking for an excuse to push me out for months, and this is convenient?" Richard's expression hardened. "That's not... You've questioned every major decision I've made this year. The merger, the expansion into Asia, the restructuring. You wanted someone more conservative, someone easier to control. Well, I'm not that person. I never have been." Susan Chen spoke up. Celeste, no one wants to push you out. We're concerned about you. This relationship seems impulsive, out of character. It's not impulsive. It's deliberate. And yes, it's out of character. Because my character for the past 15 years has been someone who sacrificed everything for this company. Someone who worked 90-hour weeks. Someone who had no life, no relationships, no joy. And I'm done being that person. So you're prioritizing your personal life over the company? Richard asked. I'm prioritizing balance. Something every person in this room already has. You all have families, spouses, children. You all leave at reasonable hours. Take vacations, have lives. But when I try to do the same, it's a crisis? You're the CEO, which means I work harder than anyone here. I've earned the right to have something for myself, even if it costs the company. Celeste stood. It's not costing the company anything except some bad press that will blow over in a week. But if you want to force my hand, if you want to make this a choice between my personal life and my position, then let's vote. Right now. Do I have your confidence or not? The room went silent. Because if I don't, Celeste continued, if you genuinely believe I'm unfit to lead, then call the vote. Remove me. Find someone else. But stop pretending this is about the company. This is about control. About whether I'm allowed to be human. Richard's jaw clenched. We're not calling for a vote. Then what are we doing here? We're asking you to be discreet, to keep your relationship private until the media attention dies down. Define discreet. No public appearances together, no social media, keep it out of the office. Celeste looked around the table, saw the faces of people she'd worked with for years, people who'd celebrated her successes but couldn't handle her happiness. Fine, she said, but I want something in return. What? Stop treating Ethan like he's my dirty secret. He's been reassigned to avoid conflicts of interest. HR has approved our relationship. He's done nothing wrong. If anyone in this company makes his life difficult because of me, I will personally hold you all accountable. Susan nodded. That's fair. And one more thing. This is the last time we have this conversation. My personal life is off limits. If it doesn't affect my performance, it's not board business. Understood? Das dot. Reluctant nods around the table. Celeste grabbed her laptop. Then we're done here. She walked out before anyone could respond, made it to her office, closed the door, leaned against it. Her hands were shaking, adrenaline and anger and exhaustion all mixed together. She'd won, but it felt like losing. That evening, she went to Ethan's apartment. He opened the door, took one look at her face, and pulled her inside. What happened? I told the board to back off. They agreed. Mostly. We have to keep things quiet for a while. Define a while. Until the media loses interest. A few weeks. Maybe a month. Ethan exhaled slowly. So we're hiding. We're being strategic. Celeste, I don't want you to fight your entire company for me. Too late. I already did. That's not... He stopped. Started again. I need you to understand something. I love you. But I can't be the reason you lose everything you've built. If being with me costs you your company, it won't. You don't know that. I do. Because I'm good at my job. Because the board knows it. Because once the news cycle moves on, none of this will matter. And if it doesn't move on, what? Celeste met his eyes. Then I'll deal with it. Together. That's what we said, remember? We're doing this together. Ethan pulled her close, held her. I hate that you have to fight for this. I've been fighting my whole life. At least now I'm fighting for something that matters. They stood there in his small hallway, holding each other, while Ava watched cartoons in the living room. After a moment, Ava called out, Is Celeste staying for dinner? If she wants to, Ethan called back. I want to, Celeste said. They ate spaghetti, the real kind this time, made by Ethan, actually edible. Ava chattered about school and her friends and a boy named Tyler who'd pulled her hair at recess. Did you tell the teacher? Ethan asked. Yeah, she said Tyler probably likes me, but that's dumb. If he liked me, he wouldn't pull my hair. You're absolutely right, Celeste said. Don't let anyone tell you that hurting you is a sign of affection. Ava Ava looked at her seriously. Did someone hurt you? Not physically, but yes. People hurt each other in lots of ways. Like the people at your work being mean about Daddy? Celeste blinked, looked at Ethan. He gave her a small shrug. She saw the news, he said quietly. A friend's mom showed her. They said you were making bad choices, Ava said. But Daddy's not a bad choice. He's the best. Celeste's throat tightened. You're right, he is. Then those people are wrong. They are. So why do you listen to them? The question hit harder than any board meeting. Why did she listen? Why did she care what Richard Morrison or unnamed shareholders thought? Because sometimes we have to listen to people we don't agree with, Celeste said, especially when we're responsible for a lot of other people. I have employees who depend on me. I can't just ignore everyone. But you can ignore the mean ones. It's more complicated than that. Adults always say that, but it's not. If someone's mean, you ignore them. If they're nice, you listen. Ava took another bite of spaghetti. That's what Daddy taught me. Ethan smiled. I'm not sure I put it exactly like that. Close enough. After dinner, Celeste helped Ava with her homework while Ethan cleaned up. Math problems. Reading comprehension. Ava struggled with fractions. I hate these, she muttered. I know, but you're doing great. I'm getting them all wrong. You're getting half of them wrong, which means you're also getting half of them right. Celeste pointed to the worksheet. See? Progress. Ava looked up at her. Do you get things wrong sometimes? All the time. Like what? Like thinking I had to be perfect to be successful. Like believing work was more important than people. Like waiting so long to find your dad and you. Those are big mistakes. They are. But you fix them. So maybe I can fix fractions. Celeste smiled. Definitely. They worked through the problems together. Slowly, Ava started understanding. Her face lit up when she got one right. I did it. You did. Can we stop now? 2 more problems. Ugh. But she did them, both correct. When Ethan came to collect her for bedtime, Ava hugged Celeste. Thanks for helping me. Anytime, sweetheart. After Ava was in bed, Ethan and Celeste sat on the couch. He put his arm around her. She leaned into him. She adores you, he said. The feeling's mutual. I worry about her getting too attached. If things don't work out, they'll work out. You can't know that. I know I'm not walking away. I know you're not walking away. That's enough. Ethan kissed the top of her head. I've never met anyone like you. Good or bad? Both. You're stubborn and brilliant and terrifying and kind. You fight for everything. You don't back down. You're exhausting. Thanks. Boss, I'm Ethan. I'm not done. You're also the best thing that's ever happened to me, besides Ava. I'll take second place to Ava. Good, because she's non-negotiable. So am I. I know. He tilted her face up, kissed her. We're really doing this? Fighting the board and the media and everyone who thinks we're crazy? We're really doing this. It's going to get worse. I know. They're going to dig into my past, my divorce, my finances, everything. Let them. They won't find anything because you're a good person. I'm a broke person with student loans and a kid. You're a person who shows up, who keeps promises, who loves with everything you have. Celeste's voice was fierce. That's worth more than anything they'll find in a credit report. Ethan held her closer. How did I get so lucky? You helped a stranger who was falling apart. Turns out she was falling for you. They stayed like that until Celeste had to leave. She didn't want to. Wanted to stay in this apartment where everything made sense. But she had an early meeting, responsibilities, a company to run. At the door, Ethan caught her hand. Whatever happens, we're in this together. Together, Celeste agreed. The next few weeks were brutal. The media attention didn't die down. It got worse. Paparazzi started following Celeste, camping outside her building, outside Ethan's apartment. Someone got photos of Ava at school. Ethan was furious. This is too much, and he said on the phone. She's 6 years old. She doesn't deserve this. I know. I'm getting security. Security? Celeste, this is insane. It's temporary. Once they realize we're boring, they'll move on. Well, we're not boring to them. You're a billionaire dating down. That's a story they'll milk forever. The phrase stung. Dating down? That's how they see it. That's how everyone sees it. Be honest. I don't see it that way. But other people do. And it's affecting Ava. She had a meltdown at school because kids were asking questions. Questions she doesn't know how to answer. Celeste closed her eyes. What can I do? I don't know. I'm trying to protect her, but I can't protect her from cameras and reporters and everyone treating her dad like he's some kind of gold digger. You're not. I know I'm not. You know I'm not. But the world doesn't care about the truth. They were both quiet. The distance between them suddenly felt enormous. Maybe we should cool things off, Ethan said finally, just until this blows over. No. Celeste, no, we're not doing that. We're not letting them win. This isn't about winning. This is about my daughter's well-being. Then let me help. Let me get security for Ava's school. Let me hire people to handle the media. Let me fix this. You can't fix everything with money. The words landed like a slap. Celeste felt anger rise. That's not what I'm trying to do, isn't it? Every problem, you throw resources at it, security, PR teams, lawyers. But this isn't a business problem. This is our lives. I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like you're trying to manage this relationship the way you manage your company. That's not fair. Maybe not, but it's how it feels. They hung up angry, both of them. Celeste sat in her office, staring at her phone, feeling everything unravel. Marcus found her there an hour later. You look terrible. Thanks. What happened? Ethan thinks I'm trying to control everything, fix everything with money. Are you? I'm trying to protect his daughter. Is that so wrong? No. But maybe he wants to protect her himself. Maybe letting you handle everything makes him feel useless. Celeste hadn't thought of it that way. So what am I supposed to do? Just watch while they harass a 6-year-old? Talk to him. Actually, talk. Not CEO to employee. Not billionaire to regular guy. Just Celeste to Ethan. Figure out what he needs, not what you think he needs. After Marcus left, Celeste sat with his words. Realized he was right. She'd been so focused on solving the problem that she hadn't asked Ethan what he wanted. She texted him, "Can we talk? In person?" His response took 20 minutes. "Come over tonight, after Ava's asleep." Celeste arrived at 8:30. Ethan let her in. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. The space between them felt like a canyon. "I'm sorry," Celeste said. "You're right. I was trying to fix everything without asking what you needed. I'm sorry, too, for saying you were throwing money at the problem. That wasn't fair." "It was a little fair." Ethan smiled slightly. "Maybe. So tell me, what do you need?" He thought about it. "I need to feel like we're partners, not like you're rescuing me." "Not like I'm some project you're managing, just partners." "Okay, what does that look like?" Babuiki. "It means we make decisions together, about security, about how to handle the media, about everything. Even if I have more resources? Especially then, because this isn't about resources. It's about respect, about trusting me to protect my own kid." Celeste nodded. "You're right. I should have asked first, and I should have told you I was struggling instead of letting it build up." Ethan moved closer. "This is hard, harder than I thought it would be. I know, but I don't want to stop. I don't want to lose you. You're not going to lose me. Even if things get worse, even then." He pulled her close. She rested her head on his chest, listened to his heartbeat. "We need to talk to Ava," Ethan said. "Together. Explain what's happening. Give her language to handle it. Okay? And we need to set boundaries. With the media. With the board. With everyone." "Agreed. And you need to let me help sometimes, even if my help isn't as fancy as yours." Celeste smiled. "Deal." They talked for hours, made plans, set boundaries, figured out how to navigate this impossible situation together. When Celeste finally left, it was after midnight, but she felt lighter, like they'd survived something important. The next morning, she called Jennifer in HR. "I need to make a formal request." "What kind of request?" "Bishi Dichapatad." I want a restraining order against paparazzi within 500 feet of any company employee's home, especially employees with minor children. I'm not sure we can do that. Find out. Hire whoever we need to hire. I want my employees protected. All of them. Including Ethan Cole? Especially Ethan Cole. But not just him. Not anyone being harassed because of their connection to me. Jennifer was quiet. Then, I'll look into it. Thank you, Set. That afternoon, Celeste called a press conference. Her PR team tried to talk her out of it. You don't owe the media anything, they said. I know, but I'm doing this anyway. She stood in front of cameras and reporters, took a breath. I'm here to address the recent speculation about my personal life. Yes, I'm in a relationship with Ethan Cole. He's a good man, a devoted father, and someone I care about deeply. This relationship doesn't affect my ability to lead Whitmore Industries. Our financial performance speaks for itself. What I won't tolerate is harassment of Mr. Cole or his young daughter. They deserve privacy. They deserve respect. If the media wants a story, talk to me. Leave them alone. Questions erupted. Celeste answered 3, then walked off stage. Her phone exploded. Board members. Investors. PR crisis management. She ignored all of it, went straight to Ethan's apartment. He opened the door, looking shocked. What did you just do? What I should have done weeks ago. Stood up for you publicly. Celeste, you can't. I already did, and I'd do it again. He pulled her inside, kissed her hard. You're impossible. I know. You just made yourself a bigger target. Better me than Ava. The board's going to lose their minds. They'll recover. She cupped his face. I'm done hiding. I'm done pretending. I love you. The world can deal with it. Ethan kissed her again. I love you too. You terrifying, stubborn, amazing woman. That night they told Ava what was happening. Explained that some people were confused about why Celeste and her daddy were together. That there might be more attention for a while. Because you're rich and daddy's not? Ava asked. Something like that, Celeste said. That's dumb. Money doesn't matter. You're absolutely right. So we just ignore the dumb people? Exactly. Ava seemed satisfied with that. Went back to her coloring. Ethan looked at Celeste, mouthed, "Thank you." She mouthed back, "Always." The fallout from the press conference was immediate. Half the board called for her resignation. Stock prices dropped another 3%. Major investors demanded meetings. But something else happened too. Employees started speaking up, posting on social media about what a good boss Celeste was, how fair, how brilliant, how she'd built a company that actually cared about people. Small shareholders started pushing back against the board, defending Celeste, saying her personal life was her business. The tide was turning, slowly, but it was turning. 2 weeks later, Richard Morrison called her. The board's willing to table the vote. What changed? Public opinion, shareholders, performance metrics. He paused. And maybe some of us realized we were being hypocrites. We all have personal lives. You deserve one too. Thank you, Shams. Don't thank me. I still think you're reckless. But I'm outvoted. Celeste smiled. I can live with that. After she hung up, she sat in her office, looked out at the city she'd conquered. She'd almost lost everything. Her company, her reputation, her future. But she hadn't lost Ethan, or Ava, or herself. And somehow, that made everything else worth it. The media attention didn't disappear overnight. But it changed. Slowly, the narrative shifted from scandal to something else. Human interest. A billionaire who chose love over image. A single father who didn't care about money. A little girl who just wanted her dad to be happy. 3 months after the press conference, Celeste sat in her office reviewing quarterly reports when Marcus walked in without knocking. You need to see this, he said, pulling up a video on his phone. It was a late-night talk show. The host was interviewing a business analyst about corporate leadership. Somehow, Celeste's name came up. What Celeste Whitmore did was actually revolutionary, the analyst said. She refused to sacrifice her humanity for corporate approval. And you know what happened? The company thrived anyway. Revenue's up. Employee satisfaction is at an all-time high. Turns out CEOs are allowed to be human beings. Whoa, the host laughed. So you're saying love is good for business? I'm saying authenticity is good for business. Whitmore stopped pretending to be a robot, started showing up as herself, and people responded to that. Marcus turned off the video. You're a case study now. Business schools are going to teach about you. Great, just what I wanted, to be dissected in MBA programs. Could be worse. They could be teaching about your downfall. He sat down. How are things? Really? Oh. Celeste considered the question. Complicated, good, scary, all of it. That's love for you. When did you become a relationship expert? I've been divorced twice. I'm an expert in what not to do. Marcus smiled. But seriously, you seem happier, less like you're about to spontaneously combust from stress. I still work too much, but you leave at reasonable hours. You take weekends off. You're learning balance. I'm trying to learn balance. There's a difference. Close enough. After he left, Celeste checked her phone. Text from Ethan. Ava wants to know if you're coming to her school play Friday night. I wouldn't miss it. What time? 7. Fair warning. It's a first-grade production of The Three Little Pigs. She's playing a brick. A brick? Don't ask. She's very committed to the role. Celeste smiled. Typed. I'll be there. Front row. You don't have to sit in front. That's for parents. He stopped typing. Started again. Never mind. Front row sounds perfect. Friday night arrived. Celeste left work at 5, went home, changed into jeans and a sweater. Normal clothes. The kind of outfit she'd never worn to a public event before. She arrived at the elementary school at 6:45. The parking lot was full of minivans and sedans. She parked her Tesla between a Honda with a baby on board sticker and a Toyota covered in soccer decals. Inside, the gymnasium smelled like industrial cleaner and childhood. Folding chairs arranged in rows. A makeshift stage decorated with construction paper. Parents chatting, holding programs, recording devices ready. Ethan waved from the third row. Celeste made her way over. He'd saved her a seat. You came, he said. I said I would. I know, but I wasn't sure if something would come up. A crisis. An emergency board meeting. I told my assistant that unless the building was literally on fire, I was unavailable after 5 today. Celeste sat down. How's Ava? Nervous, excited. She changed her costume 3 times. Wanted to make sure her brick looked authentic. How does one make a brick look authentic? Apparently with a lot of cardboard and gray paint. Our apartment looked like a craft store exploded. Wait, other parents started noticing Celeste. She saw the recognition, the whispers. A few people pulled out phones, but no one approached. No one made a scene. They just stared. Ethan noticed, reached over and took her hand. Ignore them. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be. The lights dimmed. The play began. 20 first graders performing a shaky version of The Three Little Pigs. Ava stood stage left, wearing a cardboard box painted gray. Her job was to stand very still while the third little pig built his house around her. She took it seriously, didn't move, didn't blink, the most committed brick in theatrical history. When the wolf tried to blow the house down and failed, Ava allowed herself a small smile. Ethan squeezed Celeste's hand. After the play, parents crowded the stage. Ava ran to Ethan first, launched herself into his arms. Did you see me? I didn't move at all. You were perfect, Ethan said. The best brick I've ever seen, Celeste added. Ava beamed. Then she noticed the other parents staring. Her smile faltered slightly. Why is everyone looking at us? Because Celeste's famous, Ethan said gently. Remember we talked about this? Oh, right. Ava looked at Celeste. Does it bother you? Not anymore. Good, because you're just Celeste to me. Not famous Celeste. Just regular Celeste who can't cook and helps me with fractions. A woman standing nearby laughed. I like her perspective. A woman. Celeste turned, recognized her as another parent from Ava's class. They'd met briefly at drop-off once. Your daughter was great tonight, the woman said. Very committed to her brick. Thank you, Ethan said. And I just wanted to say, the woman lowered her voice, I think it's nice what you two have. My kids talk about how happy Ava is, how she says her dad smiles all the time now. That matters more than any headline. She walked away before Celeste could respond. Ethan looked at Celeste. See? Not everyone's terrible. I'm noticing. They went out for ice cream after. A small shop near Ethan's apartment. Ava got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. Ethan got vanilla. Celeste got strawberry and immediately regretted it because Ava wanted to try it and ended up eating half. You're supposed to order your own flavor, Celeste said. But then I wouldn't know if I like strawberry. Do you like strawberry? It's okay. I like chocolate better. Then why did you eat half of mine? Ava grinned. Science. Ethan laughed. She's got you there. They walked back to the apartment, Ava between them, holding both their hands, swinging slightly with each step. This is nice, she announced. What is? Ethan asked. This. Us. Being a family. Celeste's chest tightened. Family. Such a simple word. But she'd never really had one. Not like this. Not warm and messy and real. Yeah, Ethan said softly. It is nice. That night, after Ava was asleep, Celeste and Ethan sat on the couch. She'd started keeping clothes at his apartment. A drawer in his dresser, space in the bathroom. Small markers of permanence. I've been thinking, Ethan said. About what? About us. About the future. Celeste's stomach flipped. Okay. This apartment is too small, for 3 people. Ava's getting older. She needs more space. And you can't keep living in that penthouse. It's not a home. It's a monument to loneliness. Thanks for that image. You know what I mean. He turned to face her. I think we should look for a place together. Something that's ours. Not mine. Not yours. Ours. You want to move in together? I want to build a life together. A real one. Is that too fast? Probably, but I don't care. Celeste smiled. What did you have in mind? Something with a yard, a real kitchen, space for Ava to have friends over, a home office for you because I know you'll never completely stop working. Somewhere that feels like us. I don't know what us feels like in house form. Then we'll figure it out together. They started looking the next week. Toured houses in neighborhoods Celeste had never considered. Places with good schools and parks nearby. Places where people had backyard barbecues and knew their neighbors' names. Everything was either too big or too small, too expensive or too run down, too far from Ava's school or too close to Celeste's office. After the 8th house, Ethan collapsed on a bench outside. This is impossible. We'll find something. I can't afford half of these places. Even the ones you call modest are out of my range. So I'll cover more of the costs. That's not fair to you. Ethan, I'm worth $4 billion. Fair went out the window the moment we started dating. I don't want to be a kept man. You're not. You're my partner, who happens to make less money than me. That doesn't make you less valuable. It makes me feel useless. Celeste took his hand. You're the least useless person I know. You're raising an incredible daughter. You work full-time. You show up for everyone in your life. You keep me sane. That's worth more than any mortgage payment. I just want to contribute equally. Then contribute what you can. We'll figure out the rest. She paused. Unless this is really about something else. Unless you're having second thoughts about all of this. No, no second thoughts. Just regular thoughts. Scared thoughts. Me too. Really, you always seem so confident. I'm terrified. I've never lived with anyone except college roommates who hated me. I've never built a life with someone. I don't know how to share space or compromise or be anything other than the person in charge. Well, Ava's definitely going to keep you humble. She has opinions about everything. Celeste laughed. I've noticed. They found the house 2 weeks later. A 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Not too big, not too small. A backyard with a tree that was perfect for climbing. A kitchen that actually got used. Hardwood floors that had seen better days but had character. It needed work. New paint. Updated fixtures. The kind of projects that would take months. It's perfect, Celeste said. It's a mess, Ethan countered. It's perfect, she repeated. We can fix it together. Make it ours. Oh, they brought Ava to see it. She ran through every room, claimed the bedroom with the window seat, and declared the backyard big enough for a dog. We're not getting a dog, Ethan said. Yet, Ava corrected. We're not getting a dog yet. Celeste caught Ethan's eye. smiled. This was happening. They were really doing this. The closing took 6 weeks. During that time, the board called another meeting. Celeste expected more conflict, more questions about her judgment. Instead, Richard Morrison stood up and announced his retirement. "I'm 71 years old," he said. "I've spent 50 years in business, built companies, destroyed companies, made more money than I can spend. And you know what I realized watching Celeste these past few months? I forgot how to live. I forgot that success means nothing if you're miserable. So I'm retiring, spending time with my grandkids before they're too old to want me around." Ishmishwam. He looked at Celeste. "You were right. About balance. About having a life outside this office. About being human. I'm sorry I fought you on it." After the meeting, Marcus found Celeste in her office. "Did that just happen?" "I think so." Richard Morrison apologized. "To you, in front of the entire board." "I heard. That man once made a VP cry for bringing him the wrong coffee, and he just apologized. People change. Not people like Richard Morrison. Maybe they do, if they see a reason to." Marcus sat down. "You did that. You changed the culture of this entire company. People are leaving at 5, taking vacations, actually using their sick days. It's weird. It's healthy. It's weird and healthy." He smiled. "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For fighting, for not backing down, for showing all of us that you can be successful and human at the same time." Moving day was chaos. Professional movers handled Celeste's things from the penthouse. She and Ethan packed his apartment themselves. It took 3 trips, boxes and furniture, and Ava's entire collection of stuffed animals. The new house looked empty at first, too much space, too many bare walls. But slowly, it started filling up. Celeste's expensive furniture mixed with Ethan's worn couch, Ava's drawings on the fridge, photographs on the mantle. Their first night there, they ordered pizza. Sat on the floor because the dining table hadn't arrived yet. Ava fell asleep on the couch at 8:30. Ethan carried her to her new room. When he came back, Celeste was standing at the kitchen window, looking out at the backyard, at the tree that would hold a tire swing, at the space that would become their life. "You okay?" Ethan asked. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "About how a year ago I was standing in a penthouse looking out at the city feeling completely alone. And now I'm here, in a house that needs paint, with a man who drives me crazy, and his daughter who's already planning to get a dog. We're definitely getting a dog, aren't we?" "Probably." Ethan wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Any regrets?" "None. You?" "Not a single one." They stood there, in their house, in their life, in the mess and imperfection and reality of it all. 3 months later, Ethan proposed. Not with a grand gesture or an expensive ring, just the two of them in the kitchen on a Tuesday night. Ava was at a sleepover. They were washing dishes. "Marry me," he said. Celeste almost dropped the plate she was holding. "What?" "Marry me. Make this official. Be my wife. Be Ava's stepmom. Be part of this family forever." That's not much of a proposal. "It's the only one I've got." He turned off the water, took her hands. "I love you. I want to wake up next to you every day. I want to argue about whose turn it is to make breakfast. I want to raise Ava together and maybe have another kid if you want. I want everything. With you." Celeste's eyes filled with tears. "I want that too." "So that's a yes?" "That's a yes." He kissed her, lifted her up, spun her around the kitchen. "We should tell Ava," Celeste said. "Tomorrow. Tonight is just us." They didn't make it to the bedroom, ended up on the couch, laughing and crying and holding each other. Later, lying tangled together, Celeste said, "I never thought I'd have this." "This?" "Happiness, real happiness, not success, not achievement, just joy. You deserve it. So do you." "Then I guess we're both lucky." They told Ava the next morning. She screamed so loud the neighbors probably called the police. "You're getting married. I'm going to be a flower girl. Can I get a fancy dress? Can I invite my whole class? Can we get a dog now?" "One thing at a time," Ethan said, laughing. The wedding was small. family only, which for Celeste meant Marcus and a few executives who'd become friends. For Ethan meant his sister and her family. For Ava meant her favorite teacher, who she insisted had to be there. They got married in the backyard, under the tree. Ava stood between them, holding both their hands. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Ava raised her hand. Everyone froze. "I object to not having a dog yet," she announced. "Can we get one now?" The crowd burst into laughter. Even Celeste couldn't help it. "We'll talk about it," Ethan promised. "That means yes," Ava whispered to Celeste. "It definitely means yes," Celeste whispered back. They got a dog 2 weeks later, a golden retriever puppy that Ava named Brick in honor of her most famous theatrical role. The dog chewed everything, made messes, required constant attention. Celeste had never been happier. 6 months after the wedding, Celeste made an announcement at work. She was stepping back from day-to-day operations, promoting Marcus to CEO. She'd remain as board chair but would only work 3 days a week. The news shocked everyone. "You're really doing this?" Marcus asked. "I'm really doing this. I've spent 15 years building this company. It's time to let someone else run it. Someone who actually wants to be here 60 hours a week. What are you going to do with all that free time?" "Live. Spend time with my family. Maybe have a baby. We're trying." Marcus's eyes widened. "You're trying for a baby? Don't sound so surprised. I'm 31. It's not that crazy." "It's not crazy. It's just different. Good different." "I think so too." The transition took 3 months. Celeste trained Marcus on everything, handed over control piece by piece. It was harder than she expected, letting go, trusting someone else. But it was also freeing. Her last day as CEO, the company threw a party. Employees gave speeches about what she'd built, what she'd changed, how she'd made it okay to be human in a corporate environment. Celeste stood at the podium, looked out at hundreds of faces, people she'd hired, people she'd worked with, people who'd watched her transform from a workaholic billionaire into someone who actually smiled. "I'm not good at speeches," she started. "I'm much better at spreadsheets and quarterly reports. But I want to say something important. For years, I believed that success meant sacrifice, that to build something great, you had to give up everything else. Your health, your relationships, your happiness. And I was wrong. Success isn't about what you sacrifice, it's about what you build. And I don't just mean companies or profits. I mean lives, families, joy. All of us spend so much time at work. We should spend it doing something we love with people we respect. We should leave at the end of the day and still have energy for the people who matter. We should be whole human beings, not just employees. That's the culture I tried to build here, and I hope it continues long after I'm gone." The applause was deafening. People stood. Some were crying. Celeste stepped down from the podium and walked straight to Ethan and Ava, who were waiting in the back. Ethan pulled her close. "That was perfect," he said. "It was too long." "It was perfect," he repeated. They went home, to their house with the backyard and the tree and the dog, to the life they'd built together. That night, after Ava was asleep and the dog was settled, Celeste and Ethan sat on the back porch, drinking wine, watching stars. "Do you miss it?" Ethan asked. "Being CEO?" "Sometimes. But then I remember what I was missing. This. Us. Life. No regrets? Only that I didn't find you sooner. We found each other at exactly the right time. Any earlier, and neither of us would have been ready." Celeste thought about that, about the woman she'd been a year ago, isolated, exhausted, convinced that work was all that mattered. That woman wouldn't have let Ethan in, wouldn't have been able to accept love, wouldn't have understood that vulnerability was strength, not weakness. "You're right," she said. I wasn't ready. I had to break first, had to realize that being perfect was killing me." "You're still not perfect." "Thanks. I mean it. You're stubborn and competitive, and you still try to control everything. Are you complaining? I'm saying I love you exactly as you are, imperfect and human and real." Celeste leaned into him. "I love you too, even though you leave your socks everywhere and refuse to admit that I'm better at Scrabble. You cheat at Scrabble. I strategize. There's a difference." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from really knowing someone, from building a life together. from surviving chaos and coming out stronger. 2 months later, Celeste found out she was pregnant. She took the test 3 times. Couldn't believe it. Then she called Ethan at work. "Can you come home? Is everything okay?" "Everything's perfect. Just come home." He arrived 20 minutes later, out of breath from rushing. "What happened? Is it Ava, the dog? Or she—" Celeste handed him the pregnancy test. He stared at it, looked at her, looked at the test again. "You're serious?" "I'm serious." He picked her up, spun her around, kissed her like his life depended on it. "We're having a baby," he said. "We're having a baby." They told Ava that night. She was suspicious at first. "Are you lying to make me stop asking for a little sister?" "We're not lying," Celeste said. "Prove it." Ethan showed her the pregnancy test. Ava studied it seriously. "Okay, I believe you." Then she threw her arms around Celeste. "I'm going to be the best big sister ever." The pregnancy wasn't easy. Celeste had terrible morning sickness, couldn't keep food down for weeks. She'd built and run a billion-dollar company, but pregnancy made her feel completely out of control. Ethan took care of everything, made her tea, rubbed her feet, held her hair when she was sick, never complained, never made her feel weak. "I'm terrible at this," Celeste said one night. "At what?" "Being pregnant. I'm supposed to be glowing and beautiful. Instead, I'm throwing up constantly and crying at dog food commercials." "You're growing a human being. That's pretty incredible even without the glow." "I can't even work properly. I had to leave a board meeting yesterday because the smell of coffee made me nauseous." "So? You're allowed to be human, remember? That was kind of your whole thing." She smiled weakly. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You were just too stubborn to notice." Their daughter was born on a Tuesday in March. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect tiny fingers. Ethan's eyes. Celeste's stubborn chin, according to the nurses. They named her Grace. Grace Whitmore Cole. A blend of both their names, both their lives. Ava held her sister in the hospital with such careful reverence that Celeste started crying all over again. "She's so small," Ava whispered. "You were this small once?" Ethan said. "No way! I was never that tiny." "You were. I have pictures to prove it." Celeste watched them. Her family, Ethan holding Grace, Ava leaning against his shoulder, all of them together in a moment so ordinary and so perfect it hurt. This was what she'd been missing all those years in the penthouse. This warmth, this connection, this love that didn't require achievement or perfection, just presence. The first few months with a newborn were brutal. Celeste had forgotten what exhaustion felt like. Or maybe she'd never known it like this. The bone-deep tiredness that came from surviving on 3 hours of sleep spread across a whole night. But she'd also never known this kind of joy. Holding Grace at 3 in the morning while she fed. Watching Ethan pace the room, bouncing their daughter to sleep. Seeing Ava sing to her little sister. One night, 3 months after Grace was born, Celeste was rocking her in the nursery. The rest of the house was asleep. Just her and her daughter in the quiet darkness. "You know what's funny?" she whispered to Grace. "A year and a half ago, I thought I had everything. Money, power, success. I was miserable, completely miserable. And I didn't even know it. I thought that was just what life was supposed to feel like. Empty, but successful." Grace made a small sound. Not quite a cry, just acknowledgement. "Then I met your dad and your sister, and everything changed. I learned that success means nothing if you're alone. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That asking for help doesn't make you less capable. That love is worth fighting for even when it's terrifying." She kissed Grace's forehead. "I hope you never have to learn it the hard way like I did. I hope you grow up knowing that you're enough, just as you are. Not because of what you achieve or how much money you make or how perfect you seem, just because you exist, just because you're you." Ethan appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay?" "Perfect. Just talking to our daughter." "What about?" "Life lessons. Want to contribute?" He came over, put his arm around Celeste, looked down at Grace. "My contribution is this. Ice cream is acceptable for breakfast if you're having a really bad day. Your sister taught me that. Celeste laughed quietly. That's your life lesson? Ice cream? Ice cream and unconditional love. Those are the two most important things. In that order? Obviously. They stood there, the three of them, in the nursery of a house they'd bought together, in a life they'd built from scratch, in a future that looked nothing like what Celeste had planned but was so much better than anything she could have imagined. 5 years passed. Grace grew into a toddler who looked like Ethan but had Celeste's determination. Ava became a confident 11-year-old who'd inherited the best of both of them. The dog got older, the house filled with more memories. Celeste never went back to being CEO, stayed on the board, consulted occasionally, but mostly she focused on her family, on being present, on building something that mattered more than any company ever could. People still recognized her sometimes, still asked for photos or interviews. But the narrative had changed. She wasn't the ruthless billionaire anymore. She was the woman who'd chosen love over power, who'd proven that you could have success and humanity, that you didn't have to sacrifice everything to build something great. One afternoon, she was at the park with Grace when a young woman approached, mid-20s, nervous. Are you Celeste Whitmore? I am. I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say thank you. For what? I'm a startup founder, trying to build a tech company, and I read about you, about how you stepped back from your CEO role, about how you chose family and balance, and it gave me permission to do the same, to not kill myself trying to be perfect, to remember that success means nothing if I'm miserable. The woman's eyes were bright. So, thank you for showing me that's possible. Celeste felt emotion rise in her throat. You're welcome, and good luck with your company. After the woman left, Grace tugged on Celeste's hand. Why did she say thank you? Because sometimes people need to see someone else do something brave before they can be brave themselves. Are you brave? I'm trying to be. You are brave. You're the bravest mommy ever. Celeste scooped up her daughter, held her close, thought about the woman she used to be, the one who thought love was a distraction, who believed vulnerability was weakness, who was so focused on proving herself that she forgot to actually live. That woman had died the night Ethan helped her home from the merger celebration. And in her place, someone new had emerged. Someone softer but stronger. Someone who understood that true power came from connection, not control. Someone who knew that the best things in life couldn't be bought or achieved. They could only be built, day by day, choice by choice, with the people who mattered. That evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. Ethan cooked. Ava set the table. Grace tried to help and mostly just made a mess. Brick begged for scraps. They ate together, talked about their days, laughed at Ava's stories from school, wiped Grace's face 17 times. It was ordinary, imperfect, messy. It was everything. After the girls were in bed, Celeste and Ethan sat on the porch. Their usual spot. Their ritual. Happy? Ethan asked. Ridiculously happy. Good. Because I'm not letting you leave. Where would I go? I don't know. Back to your billionaire penthouse, your 90-hour work weeks, your life of glamorous misery. That life seems like it belonged to someone else. It did. You're different now. Better or worse? Just different. More you. Celeste thought about that. More herself. For so long, she'd tried to be what other people expected. Her mother's version of success, the board's version of a CEO, society's version of a powerful woman. She'd built her entire life around meeting other people's expectations. Until Ethan, until Ava, until she realized that the only expectation that mattered was her own. And what she expected from herself now wasn't perfection. It was presence, authenticity, love. I used to think happiness was something you earned, she said. Something you achieved after you'd accomplished enough, made enough money, proved yourself enough times. But it's not. It's something you choose, every day, in small moments, with the people who see you as you really are and love you anyway. That's very philosophical for someone who once told me emotions were inefficient. I was an idiot. You were scared. Same thing. Yeet. Ethan pulled her closer. For the record, I'm really glad you were falling apart the night of that merger celebration. That's a terrible thing to be glad about. I'm glad because it meant you needed help. And I got to be the one who helped. And that led to this, to us, to everything. So you're saying my emotional breakdown was actually a good thing? I'm saying sometimes we have to fall apart before we can build something better. Celeste leaned her head on his shoulder, looked up at the stars, thought about everything that had changed, everything she'd gained, everything she'd learned. The truth was simple. She'd spent years building an empire, making billions, achieving everything she thought she wanted, and she'd been completely, devastatingly alone. Then, a single father with kind eyes and a 6-year-old daughter had shown her a different kind of wealth. The kind that couldn't be measured in dollars or stock prices or quarterly reports. The kind that came from being known, from being loved, from belonging somewhere not because of what you achieved, but because of who you were. That was the real success. Not the company or the money or the power, but this house, this family, this life, these small, ordinary moments that somehow contained more joy than any merger or acquisition ever had. Because in the end, what mattered wasn't how much you built or how high you climbed or how perfectly you performed. What mattered was who was there to catch you when you fell, who stayed when things got hard, who loved you not despite your imperfections, but because of them. Celeste had spent 30 years learning that lesson the hard way. But now, sitting on her porch with the man she loved and the family they'd built together, she finally understood. Success wasn't something you achieved, it was something you shared. With the people who made you better, the people who reminded you that being human wasn't a weakness, it was the whole point. And she wouldn't trade this messy, imperfect, beautiful life for anything in the world.